If you'd told me a week ago that the most important moment of my life would happen in a crowded, noisy airport food court, I would have laughed. But that's the thing about life, isn't it? The big moments don't come with a warning. They just happen. And friends, what I witnessed, what I was lucky enough to be a part of, is a story I have to share with you. So please, settle in, because this is one you're going to want to hear to the very end. And if this story touches your heart even half as much as it touched mine, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It helps me bring more stories like this right to you. The terminal was a river of rushing people, a symphony of rolling suitcases and flight announcements. I was just killing time before a red eye, sipping a coffee that tasted like burnt tires, when I noticed him. A man, maybe mid-30s, with that particular kind of tiredness that settles deep into the bones. He was juggling a tray of food while gently steering a little girl, no more than 6, with wide, curious eyes. You could see his world revolved around her. His jacket was worn at the elbows, and there was a faint stain on his daughter's dress, the kind of detail that speaks of a parent doing their absolute best, alone. They settled at a small table not far from mine. The little girl, whose name I would later learn was Chloe, carefully arranged her chicken nuggets into a smiling face with ketchup. The dad, Mark, was quietly encouraging, but his eyes kept darting to the clock, a low-level anxiety humming just beneath the surface. That's when she walked in. You could feel the air change. It wasn't that she was demanding attention, she was simply the kind of person who commanded it without trying. Her posture was ramrod straight, her silver-haired cut severe yet elegant. She moved through the chaos of the food court with a quiet, purposeful grace, a single leather carry-on bag slung over her shoulder. She found a solitary table in a slightly quieter corner, placed a simple salad and a bottle of water on it, and sat down, her back to the wall, surveying the room with a calm, measured gaze. I recognized her instantly. General Katherine, Kat, Volkov. Her photo had been on the cover of Time magazine just a month prior. One of the most decorated officers in the modern era, a strategist who had shaped national policy, a legend. The news had reported she was retiring. This, I guessed, was her quiet exit. No fanfare, no entourage. Just a salad in an airport before slipping into civilian life. Most people in the food court were too absorbed in their own worlds to notice. But one person did. Chloe had stopped playing with her food. Her entire focus was locked on the general. Not on her impressive stature, not on her uniform, but on her plate. Specifically, the single, untouched dinner roll that sat on the edge of the general's salad plate. Mark noticed his daughter's fixation. "Chloe, honey, eat your nuggets. We have to get to our gate soon." "But Daddy," Chloe whispered, her voice small but clear in the space between our tables. "That lady has a roll. And she's not eating it." "I know, sweetie, but that's her food. We have ours." Chloe's lower lip began to tremble. It wasn't a tantrum. It was the onset of a profound, quiet sadness. "But, you didn't get one. You never get one. You always say you're not hungry so I can have the extra." The words hung in the air, simple and devastating. My heart clenched. I looked at Mark, and saw the color rise in his cheeks. It was the truth, laid bare by the innocent honesty of a child. He was a single dad, probably counting every penny, and his small, constant act of sacrifice, skipping a bread roll, a side, a coffee, had just been exposed. Mark's eyes met mine for a fleeting second. And I saw a universe of love and exhaustion in them. He looked down at his daughter, his voice soft. "It's okay, baby. I'm okay." But Chloe wasn't looking at him anymore. She had slipped out of her chair. With a determination that defied her small size, she started walking. She weaved through the tables, a tiny pilgrim on a mission of pure love, heading straight for the table of the 4-star general. My breath caught. I saw Mark freeze, a deer in the headlights, too stunned to react. General Volkov looked up as the small shadow fell over her table. Her expression was unreadable, the practiced neutrality of a leader who had faced down international crises. Chloe stopped a few feet away, clutching the hem of her dress. The general's voice, when she spoke, was surprisingly gentle, though still carrying the weight of authority. "Can I help you, young lady?" Chloe pointed a tiny finger. "You have a roll." The general glanced down at the forgotten bread roll, then back at Chloe. "I do. My daddy," Chloe said, her voice gaining a little strength, "he's really hungry." He gave all his money for my nuggets and the airplane to see Grandma. He never gets a roll. Can I have yours for him? The entire world seemed to shrink to that one table. The hum of the airport faded into a distant whisper. I watched the general's face. The stern mask didn't crack, but it softened at the edges. Her sharp eyes flickered from Chloe's hopeful, earnest face across the room to Mark, who looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. She saw the dynamic playing out in its heartbreaking clarity, the selfless father, the perceptive daughter. General Katherine Volkov, who had commanded thousands, made billion-dollar decisions, and borne the weight of national security, took a slow, quiet breath. This was a different kind of command decision. She didn't smile. She didn't hand over the role. Instead, she did something far more profound. She stood up. Every movement was precise, deliberate. She picked up her tray. And then, General Volkov, in her full-dress uniform adorned with ribbons and stars, walked across the food court, following a little girl back to a cheap formica table. She stopped in front of a speechless Mark. "Sir," she said, her voice respectful, clear. "Your daughter is a remarkable negotiator." Mark could only stare, his mouth slightly agape. The general then placed her entire tray, the salad, the water, and that single, pivotal dinner roll, right in the center of their table. "It seems I have an excess of provisions," she said. "And it would be a shame for it to go to waste. Would you do me the honor of sharing my table? This one is a bit drafty." Without waiting for an answer, she pulled out a chair and sat down. Mark, moving as if in a dream, slowly sat back down. Chloe scrambled into her seat, her eyes like saucers. What happened next was a masterclass in humanity. General Volkov didn't patronize them. She didn't make a grand show of it. She simply talked. She asked Mark about their trip. She learned that he was taking Chloe to see her grandmother because he had just started a new job and needed help with childcare. She listened as he spoke about the struggle of balancing it all, his voice low and a little broken, as if he hadn't been able to talk to anyone about it for a very long time. Then she turned to Chloe. "That was a very brave thing you did, coming to talk to me. In my line of work, bravery is the most important quality. You have the heart of a lion." She picked up the dinner roll and, with a solemnity usually reserved for a state function, handed it to Mark. "A good soldier always makes sure his comrades are fed," she said, and for the first time, a genuine, warm smile touched her eyes. Mark took the roll. His hand was trembling. He didn't eat it immediately. He just held it, as if it were a medal. I saw them talk for another 10 minutes. I saw Mark's shoulders, once hunched with worry, slowly straighten. I saw Chloe beam with pride. When the final boarding call for their flight echoed through the terminal, they stood. The general shook Mark's hand, then knelt down to Chloe's level and said something quietly to her that made the little girl nod seriously. As they walked away, Chloe clutching her father's hand and looking back once to wave, the general stood and watched them go. The imposing figure was still there, but it was now layered with something else, a deep, palpable tenderness. She stood there long after they had disappeared into the gate tunnel. She then turned, collected her single bag, and began to walk toward her own gate. But before she left, her eyes scanned the food court and landed directly on me. She gave a single, slow, knowing nod, as if to say, "You saw it. Remember it." And I have. So, why am I telling you this story? It's not just about a kind act. It's about seeing the people right in front of us. A 4-star general, at the pinnacle of her career, chose to have her quiet exit interrupted by the profound love of a child for her father. In that moment, she laid down her rank and simply became a human being helping another human being. It's a reminder that no matter how high we rise, or how low we sometimes feel, our shared humanity is our greatest rank. That a simple act of seeing someone, truly seeing their struggle and their love, can change the trajectory of a day, a life. Mark learned that his sacrifices were seen and valued. Chloe learned that bravery and love can move mountains, or at least, 4-star generals. And General Volkov, I think she was reminded that after a lifetime of serving her country, sometimes the most important service is to a single, hungry father in an airport. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you of the quiet heroes and the powerful moments of connection in your own life, then share your thoughts in the comments below. And please, if you want to be part of a community that believes in the power of human stories, subscribe to the channel. Because you never know when you might witness, or even be part of, the next story that restores your faith in people. Thanks for watching.